Guys, this is beyond insane. We have Trump standing next to Biden. The debate's happening, and all I can think about as I'm looking at this image right here, as the debate's starting, is how much more popular this billionaire real estate man sent from who knows where to save America is than this guy who, let's be face it, is pumped full of drugs right now. And this is completely ridiculous. Trump did not have, and it's ridiculous from so many standpoints. Trump didn't have to do this. He could have just gone into the election and everyone would have voted for him. But he's going in here to provide the hardcore smackdown, and I'm going to be analyzing every aspect of what we're seeing here. I'm not going to say too much before I just play it, because, you know, we want to see it. But we've endured so much. The left has been so psychopathic for so long. It's like we're really just witnessing good versus evil. It's like we're witnessing the future of the country that could be good, and then just like a serial killer or an embodiment of the worst ideas that have ever been seen and that are currently like killing the country. This is beyond crazy. This is crazy, crazy, crazy.
Trump.
Bro, Biden looked over. Trump didn't even look at Biden.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say
Trump is so much more popular. And what's crazy is the people hosting this are literally the state media propaganda. It's insane. The news media that has done nothing but lie for years. Giga unpopular, mocked ridiculously. All their previous hosts, from Don Lemon to Cuomo, have been scorned and dragged through the coals, forced to answer for the insanely evil lies that they've been propagating for years.
Is their top concern the economy? President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain
incoherent. Same from the start. Why would you say that? We can all see through it.
High. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have...
Oh, imagine thinking that inflation is only up like 6-7%. It's up 15+%.
Have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off?
I want to see if there's either a man in a mask, and that's who Joe Biden is right now, or if he's just pumped full of drugs.
Under your presidency than they were under President Trump.
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me.
Oh my gosh, I wish I was a medical doctor so I would know the intricate, or maybe a chemical scientist so I would know exactly what Biden's on right now. This doesn't even sound like him.
We had an
Bro, look at Trump's face.
economy, what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly
The left created that.
handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed.
Dude, they're really going for it. They're trying to pretend Trump said inject bleach in your arm. Oh, we couldn't have asked for better. What a great way to start the debate. Just let everyone know from the start that they are completely dishonest.
There were no jobs.
They're not even interested in adhering to the truth, but we knew this. But now everyone can see it.
Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15.
Yes, putting things back together. Open the border. 15 million immigrants come on in. Economy, increase that inflation. Let's go. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Collude with big tech, censor people.
8,000 new jobs. We brought out the position where...
Wait, what did he say? Did he say 8,000?
We created 15,000 new jobs.
15,000. 15,000. 15... Oh, that's probably a gaffe, right? Because 15,000 is not a lot.
We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done.
Okay, so incoherent, right? 800,000, 15,000.
There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas.
Incoherent statement.
The price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with.
Keep in mind that the left only deals in terms of power disparities. They don't believe in merit. They don't believe in competence. The only thing that they believe in is power. And so the fact that they think that they have to do this debate, and they do think that because he's here, is an admission that they know Trump is in the dominant position, that they know that they've failed monumentally.
with those problems. That we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now.
Right, corporate greed is the reason why inflation is so high. It's not that we printed $8 trillion.
In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration,
they're talking about his administration rather than his current administration, which is what the question was about, and also about the current failure, the state that the country's in. He's still talking about Trump's administration. This is nuts.
Didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos. Literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs.
Thank you for showing everyone how incoherent the left is.
Make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people.
Dude, and what's funny was Biden was fact-checked on that by the mainstream media, and that Trump actually lowered the prices.
To $15 for a insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year.
Guys, after this, I'm going to start recording in terms of a stopwatch how long Biden speaks for and how long Trump speaks for, because I have a feeling that it's not going to be equal.
And the situation is we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price of around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you. President Trump?
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country.
His voice is so much stronger, so much more masculine, so much more competent.
We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things.
Oh, yeah, true. No wars. Throw that on top of it. True, yeah. Interesting how when you have an alpha male, masculine billionaire in office, other men respect you. Oh, that's funny.
Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID.
Dude, I cannot wait for immigration. I can't wait for immigration.
And nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has
there it is.
Not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
That was way shorter. That was way fucking shorter.
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he's great.
Most Americans.
The greatest economy in the world. And, the fact of the matter is that...
Leftists are so narcissistic, they think that at this point, after endlessly lying, after endlessly manifesting their psychopathology, most people agree with them. This is straight out of the fever dream of Marxism, which says any person disagrees with us is not only not a deserving person of virtue, but they're not even a person. This is what makes them so demented and dangerous.
We found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion.
For the middle class. The middle class got a $3,000 to $4,000 tax cut.
He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than...
What? You printed $8 trillion. Dude, that's literally a lie. Fact check.
Herbert Hoover, who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant. And the military, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president,
Bro, his eyes looked like injected with drugs right there. Also, notice how he's playing defense rather than offense.
Still find ourselves...
Which is rare for liberals. They like to throw slanderous lies, but this is how reduced their position is. They have to play defense because everyone knows they've done such a bad job.
Where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. So, century, decade, what's the difference?
Like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S.
Totally
How
correct.
will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
So
Not
Biden
gonna
got, by the way, Biden got to speak for more than a minute there. So let's
Drive
see.
them higher. It's just
Okay, hold on.
It's going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he
It's
would.
crazy how they're trying to force him to answer more questions than Biden had to answer, and still he outperforms them.
He made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down and then they bounced back. And he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. Now, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing. And they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength,
And they defeated ISIS.
power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further.
Completely corrupt questioning. Literally lying. The current administration has printed way more than $4 trillion. Random spending bills that they've proposed are like $1 trillion by themselves, and they've done a lot of those.
Further, you say, with the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country.
Oh, God is with us. He's answering so confidently.
But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example,
They made a mistake by asking a master businessman, billionaire, about finances.
corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you,
Wow, look at the face of the psychopath being confronted with the fact that people are opposing the tyranny. This is crazy.
not only poor there, but
This is historic right here.
throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things
Here we are.
he's done. We've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country, and I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
Everyone, and dude, this is the moment because everyone agrees. Everyone knows that it's wrong.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, he got $2 trillion tax
Can't speak.
cut, benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix
He's been injected with so many needles to even be able to stand.
the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America.
Let's go!
And
More gaffes. Let's go.
what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in
Guys,
fact,
we had 1,000 trillionaires in America. Let's go.
pay 8.2% in taxes.
But the left doesn't care about that. No, that's competence. That's objectivism.
If they just paid 24% or 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million.
The left are so fraudulent.
Billion dollars, I should say.
500 million, or is it billion? What's the difference? Oh, the only difference is 10 times. Oh, that's a small difference. 500 million, billion, whatever.
In a 10-year period, we'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health.
They're not interested in child care or elder care or building roads. No, they want to pass billions, trillions of dollars for the LGBTQ. Let's reimagine the flag.
Care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the
only thing every single person in America has been eligible for under Biden is inflation and economic struggle, as well as unsafe society.
with the COVID, with dealing with everything.
Whoa! What gaffe was that?
Person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With
Freudian slip. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wait, he was in the middle of the sentence. He just paused, and then CNN was like, "Thank you, President." And then they're colluding.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
If we finally beat he was in the middle of a sentence. CNN cut him off because he was gaffing. He gaffed 4 times in a row. Do they have an agreement? Okay, if Biden stands up and starts gaffing and starts saying million instead of billion and trillion instead of billion, we're gonna interrupt him. And then they did, and he just looked up like, thank you. Dude, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying
And then there was a Freudian slip of admitting that he was able to enact tyranny because of COVID.
Medicare, because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to
wasn't even a sentence.
Our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America.
Oh, look at poor Biden struggling. Oh, realizing that the alpha male billionaire standing across from him is more popular than he is.
In the last 4 years is not to be believed.
Watch Biden's face when Trump says, I have a lot of friends.
Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Tana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court
Bro, leftists know that they've ruined themselves. They know that their brand is unrecoverable. Just the way they're hosting this debate. I mean, there's never been a debate like this in the history of the nation. And the fact that they're just asking questions, expecting it to be, reasonable or acceptable, that these answers are just living in completely different universes, is a testament to the amount of psychopathology they've tolerated from their own ranks. In many ways, this is like them finally facing accountability, because they know that most Americans agree with Trump. As he's saying these things which destroy them, they know most people agree. They have to contend with it because he's here, and they have to contend with it because they're losing.
Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case.
Watch them refer to abortion as women's rights or reproductive health or something, rather than executing babies. Yet again, exposing the total bias of the evil left.
Temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit.
Notice they said president before, now they're saying former president. They definitely got a note in the earpiece.
For the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
Would you keep women from executing their babies?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it.
And constitutionally, that is what should be.
The vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important.
Right.
Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth.
The left is willing to sacrifice anything on the altar of their ideology. Morality is completely relative to them because they are deeply afraid of being accountable to objective frameworks, including morality.
After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside.
I bet they're going to interrupt him now.
We'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done.
It's been a terrible thing. It's been a terrible thing. We can only be forced. We can't prevent mothers from executing babies.
The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the states should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that
whether you need help, whether you need to escape your responsibility of being a mother after taking actions that resulted in that. Also, it's funny how in Texas, Biden thinks that you can't see a doctor to ask if you're pregnant. That's really good.
States are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule.
Yes, exactly. Mothers have to be able to kill their babies. They worship Moloch, guys. It's good versus evil.
Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that, but here's the deal.
Wait, what?
There's a lot of young women who are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try.
So we're talking about rape now. The left was already totally incompetent and incoherent. Their positions made no sense. The things they advocated for were immoral and incoherent. But then you add another derivative on top of that, which is the representation of that is literally a man with dementia. And then you get this. It's literally anti-reality versus reality.
I'd arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping.
These are powerful words because everyone knows it's true. And if he argues it, then he will lose.
And killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The state.
Look at his face, looking at accountability, listening to the words that will remove him from office.
Of voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. but they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have, everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states, I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states.
What? Wait, collusion? More collusion? Oh, that thing we talked about before? And yeah, don't worry, I'll let you do that. I have to ask you a question to make it look fair.
States. I'll let you do
Neurotic woman with narrow face.
that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support...
This is the face of incompetent, liberal, elderly people. I've seen it before. Their brains have been totally wrecked. Just completely obliterated. They can't think, and they're afraid of truth.
any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3
Answer the question. Wait, she just asked a good question. At what point are you going to allow it? And if he doesn't specify, then he will have confirmed his own defeat and Trump's position, which is that Democrats are willing to execute babies up until 8 months.
And should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous.
Women's health. Executing babies is women's health. Sacrifice to Moloch.
That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to...
But then the leftist politicians want to make sure that doctors are extreme leftist people who are willing to affirm a 12-year-old girl who says, I'm a boy. So they don't want to keep politics out of the clinic. They want the clinic to be a reflection of their political ideology.
restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
You're lying. That is simply not true.
It's objectively true. They do that in New York.
Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing.
Yes, take them out. Let's go.
We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because...
Just like in those 51 years, you were in favor of racial busing, right? A lot of things were illegal 51 years ago.
This guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans...
we know what he's going to do.
He gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress.
MAGA Republicans, those people that are beneath us. In fact, those people that aren't even people. Those people that have no virtue and merit. We're going to discriminate. We need to discriminate against them. They're our enemy. Oh my gosh, quickly, they're bloodthirsty. We better put them in jail before they threaten our democracy. Yeah, we're the good guys, right? We're the good ones.
That's a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security.
They're turning off his mic.
President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns.
Everyone saw that. Everyone saw that. That was even, for them, that was even worse than letting Trump speak, because everyone saw the fact and heard the fact through the other microphone that Trump was talking and they cut it off, thus revealing their corruption. They didn't let Trump respond to that statement Oh my gosh, the left is openly totalitarian. Yet again, it's just like the Twitter files all over again. The left becoming embarrassed and humiliated that they are, tyrannical and corrupt. Everyone sees this. It's fantastic.
A record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern...
Just a record number. We're not going to put a number on it because the number is too staggering. Literally, the number is so high, it's greater than the total number of... It's greater than the population of dozens of states. In some cases, dozens of states put together.
border on your watch.
Biden's responsible for that, and those immigrants have been wreaking havoc on vulnerable people. People that the left should be advocating for, except, no, those two people don't fall under the category of protection because in the inverted intersectionalist hierarchy, those immigrants hold a higher status than them. Therefore, virtue and merit can't be objectively determined, resulting in the protection of deserving people. Meaning the result is we're willing to sacrifice women. We're willing to sacrifice the vulnerable people that are being assaulted, raped, murdered, robbed by these illegal immigrants. The left is willing to sacrifice those people because they're inclusive.
Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only...
We worked so hard the day I got in, I removed Trump's policies and let them flood across the border to the point where Texas had to use civilian volunteers to cover the border with pieces of metal. That's how much of a failure he is.
Changed all of that.
It's Chuck Schumer. It's some Republican congressman. You had the authority to veto Trump's policies, but you don't have the power to close the border, do anything. Obviously a lie. Completely a lie. Everyone knows it's a lie.
Sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed...
What? He didn't make sense there. He didn't even construct a sentence.
Endorsed my asylum officer. Significantly... By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed
is let 21 million illegal immigrants come across the border.
The law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally.
The left is such a failure. I think this actually could begin maybe a reign of even 20 years. I think this could be 5 presidents in a row. The left has failed so monumentally that when people see how much of a success Republicans are, it could just completely shift the tide of the next century.
It's better than when he left.
Maybe even multiple centuries, and therefore saving America. That's the extent and the silver lining of the left's monumental, enormous failure here.
Office, and I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol and more.
What is it? Ban or initiative?
Asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Let's go bully him. Yeah, fuck him up.
We had the safest border in the history of our country.
Bully that beta fuck.
He's
poorer than you too.
All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are...
How crazy is it that he shook his head when he literally did that on day one with an executive order? Think about that. That's nuts.
From prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now. All terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation.
One of them can speak. One of them has tonality, intonation. He has phrasing. The other person sounds like his vocal cords have been injected with, I don't know. I don't know what they put in his body.
Because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But
let's go. Referencing names, name dropping. Dude, we see the videos of police lining up to shake Trump's hand. Everyone knows law enforcement, loves Trump. Everyone knows the military loves Trump. Everyone knows the left is unpopular and failing. Oh my gosh. November. Just come faster, come faster.
Look, We had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in
Thank you,
caravans.
President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in his administration.
You can't even talk.
Killed three American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying
That's the only terrorist. Meanwhile, we literally see every other day another raping of literally a teenage girl from an illegal immigrant. Truly evil. It is good versus evil, but thank goodness for Elon Musk allowing us to show everybody that this is what the left has created. Because if we didn't have that, then they would be censoring us currently.
and no terrorist ever got through with the idea.
I guarantee you, right now, YouTube is already censoring videos like this. This video will go up on X too, so subscribe on YouTube and follow me on X.
Prisons, we're welcoming these people. That's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once
There's no data to support this. Oh my gosh.
again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest.
So second time in a row, they didn't let Trump respond. Again, just showing the bias, showing how openly corrupt this, leftist regime media is.
Largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented?
It's so classically leftist. We're going to let in 20 million illegal immigrants, and then when you try to correct our immoral, evil mistake, we're going to call you a threat to democracy. Oh my gosh, you're the next Hitler. This is crazy. What are you doing? You're correcting us. Oh my gosh, oppression. So classically Marxist. What they're doing is they're inoculating people. They're vaccinating people against this Marxist degeneracy because people see it. They see the left is tyrannical.
Immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people.
Oh yeah, notice how they're trying to bait Trump into saying, I'm going to send in the Marines to liberal cities and pull people out of their houses because then they can hide from debate, they can hide from reason, they can hide from logic, they can hide from rationality and mental scrutiny, and they can just focus on the power disparities of Marxism. Oh my gosh, he's going to correct us using force. Therefore, he's the oppressor and we're by default the good guys. This is the game they play, but it's counterfeit. It's old, it's corrupt, it's shady, it's fraudulent, and it's a failure because people recognize it as such.
The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest.
Here we go.
They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border.
It's a great Republican win when we have to send in the alpha masculine billionaire to save lives of New Yorkers in a blue state as they think men can get pregnant and literally march in the street for their own destruction. We send in the alpha masculine billionaire to save them against their will. That's a great story.
And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these 3 incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and they just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally...
Bro, Biden looks like a zombie. He looks like a freaking unconscious zombie.
An uncivilized country.
But he's looking at accountability. You're looking at the pure psychopathology of the left manifested in front of competent accountability.
Now, he doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels.
CNN didn't want him to answer this question this way. Oh my gosh, you're not going to say that you're going to send in the Marines to drag people out of their houses? Oh, well then you're going to answer it that way? Oh, darn it, we didn't plan for that.
In New York City and other places, our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest...
That's right. For multiple years, you had to get the COVID vaccine to even join the military. They kicked out military members. personnel, fired them without pay, without, retirement, whatever, and just because they wouldn't take the vaccine. Then they let them back because the backlash was so tremendous. Not to mention the horrendous, Afghanistan pullout, etc. But it's ridiculous.
Approval rating for veterans.
I don't want to say this because it's so bad, but the Biden administration had Marines picking up animal feces before the Afghanistan withdrawal. That's how low the Biden administration brought our military.
Taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie.
Yes! That he couldn't have said anything better to show the world the left is fraudulent. Everything he said was true. It's literally true. He literally referenced a 12-year-old girl going viral on X. But see, they didn't want that to be possible. They wanted to censor us. Everywhere else, no one's able to talk about that because it gets censored in the algorithm. But on X, 500 million views.
Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the...
Notice, too, that reality is not important to them. They want to insist that their ideology is reality. And so when they're reminded that it's not, they get enraged.
Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And his group opposed that. We're also in a situation...
His group, he can't even speak.
...situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general.
Which one was it? Do you know? He doesn't know.
And he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump.
Billionaire is a loser. Yes, let's go. Golden skyscrapers. Drop it on him.
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up.
Here we go. Every single accusation just gets dropped on him because they've built up this pressure that's festering behind the dam. So anytime they lie, the hammer just gets dropped on him, and it's 10 times harder because there's all these lies and backlogs and backlogs of fraudulence that they've pushed on people for so many years. November's already over.
It's like the 51 intelligence agents are made up. Just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking, it's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't.
Oh, and he remembers that, don't you? Because you said on the same stage that it was made up, but then it wasn't. You lied. Oh.
Came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything.
For a lie! I don't have to apologize for a lie. My ideology tells me I'm a good person by default. And that you're not even a human. We're compassionate. Let's put you in jail now.
Along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right. Thank you so much.
Let's move to the top.
The third time they didn't let Trump respond. Third time. So we're 3 times now.
Of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its 3rd year. Former President Trump...
Russia's war against, not the war in Ukraine.
Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed.
Notice how the moderators didn't even press Biden about how it wasn't laptop disinformation, and he said it doesn't exist in the last debate. See, they don't care about reality. It's not important to them. It's not even a priority. Oh, the laptop? Oh, yeah, we were wrong about that. Anyway, moving on. We just lied. Yeah, moving on. We're not going to correct you. Ridiculous. The laptop should be one of the questions, but they're not going to ask about that because it is humiliating to them, just like every other failure they've had. But at this point, the reason why they're so done is because they have 10,000 of those failures all built up on every single topic.
Claimed.
And on top of it, they're narcissistic. They're psychopathic, and they still call themselves a good people. That's the element that makes their brand irrevocably destroyed.
And Ukraine abandons its bid
Because it's fake, it's fraudulent, it's psychopathic.
to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans
The complete framing of the question is beyond absurd.
and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander in chief, if that's what you call him,
Correct.
that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment.
Yeah, it
Most
was a display of weakness.
embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals like I fired the one that you mentioned. So he's got no love lost.
Oh, let's go!
But he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment
Yeah, reminding him that he fired the one who lied. Let's go.
behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in.
Bro, Biden has done no offense, only defense, and Trump's painting the narrative, and the narrative is true. The narrative is one that reveals the left's fraudulence, immorality, and psychopathology. It's done.
And maybe this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration.
Bro, let's fucking go. At the end of the day, masculine competence wins, and people see it because it speaks through the bullshit.
This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is
Every response is so bad, it's perfect.
that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point
Let's go.
first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it recently, not when he was president.
Literally killed all of the terrorist leaders. Literally all of them.
They attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three.
Notice how these talking points don't even refute the facts and what Trump said.
We found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy
What
told
Trump did in Ukraine. Oh, this is gonna be good.
Ukraine, he told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want.
Oh, he just confused Putin and Trump in his own head.
And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you
Whoa, he did it again.
want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you
This is live on TV. This is gonna get billions.
want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish. Kyiv, and he in fact didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done, and they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I
if
never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the
No, they're
territory
not
in Ukraine?
acceptable. No, they're not
Why
acceptable.
would they be acceptable? Ridiculous.
But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People...
Bro, what an incredible statement. He's actually so confident in the fact that he's a competent, respected guy that he doesn't even need the office of the presidency to resolve it. That's how impressive Trump is.
Being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it
The
settled
left is great at that. The left is amazing at getting people killed.
fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and
We
walks
don't want a war. What did he just say? What a Freudian slip.
away, and by the way, all that money we give
The
you
left is trying to create World War III.
Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response
Yeah, it's crazy. SEAL Team 6 hasn't been sent in.
has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military
Weak leadership. They don't respect the person in charge, because why would they? There's nothing to respect.
offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council
It's so good.
straight
It
through
doesn't get old.
to the G7, to the Israelis, and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward. Which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is
You
no
can make the phases whatever you want. You can make the phases Hamas gives up and becomes, liberals in San Francisco. But they're not agreeing to your terms. Why is that? That's the question.
the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas, number one. They're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we're finding that the only thing I've denied is
Utter incompetence, total incompetence. The incompetence goes very deep into the government, into the structure of who's making decisions. The left is not interested in solutions. They are interested in power and their ideology.
Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We
You can't even speak.
saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so they're 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for what using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent 100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any, they were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting all, you got.
The left would rather smile and scoff than save hundreds of billions of dollars because those represent numbers and math. Besides, to Biden's brain, what's the difference between millions and billions? Am I right?
Got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between.
These people aren't business people. They're used to spending billions like it's nothing. They don't think of money that way. So really, Trump is just flexing his total competence over Biden right now.
You got to,
as a billionaire and businessman,
ask him as far as Israel and Hamas. Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
Let's go.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. Are you going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have, our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. You see what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South. Serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So
Fourth time they didn't want him to respond and ask him a separate question. Crazy.
they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations.
Time.
Because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have. But we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question, would you guard us against Russia, at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time. And I said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day.
What a psyop. What a leftist piece of propaganda. I hope he decimates them over this.
Some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president,
Wrong. Didn't happen.
You
That's not what happened.
swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th.
Yeah, exactly. No one likes to believe your propaganda because everyone knows you're a fraud.
On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On
The reframing of January 6th, fantastic.
January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
Yeah, fantastic. It's so good. It is crazy. Crazy that this man right here on the stage tried to put his political opponent in jail, failed, martyred him, raised probably over $1 billion in less than a week for Trump, and then was forced to stand on the stage and debate him. The left is weak, they're fraudulent, they're juvenile, they're evil, they're psychopathic, they're ideologically possessed, they hate reality, they hate truth, they hate morality. And all of this has been undeniably demonstrated, and yet their psychopathology continues on so that we can all see them, so that we can all marvel at the state of depravity the human mind is capable of under Marxism, which is what history will look back on and view this as. Total display of arrogance, total display of psychopathology. These people think they're good people. They call themselves inclusive and compassionate while they try to put their opposition in jail. And then when they're seen as frauds by the majority of Americans, they pretend as though those Americans aren't real people. History will judge them.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your
He just told you, freak show. Next question.
actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago.
Oh, but you don't like that, do you? Because that was on X when Nancy Pelosi admitted that she didn't call in the National Guard on purpose, even though she had the authority to do so, because she wanted it to happen. Oh, but that shouldn't have gone viral because Elon shouldn't have bought it. Free speech isn't desirable now, is it?
On tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say. But she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor in writing turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same.
Correct. But we weren't supposed to see that because X wasn't supposed to be free. They weren't supposed to let you see that.
Day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar.
And all it takes is one leak. All it takes is one thing out of their tyrannical control for them to be exposed as the liars and frauds that they are. That's how pathetic they are. That's how totally destitute their position is.
She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says
They are good patriots, all of them.
I'll forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. But he went to...
Didn't the left just occupy D.C. the other day with pride flags? Oh, but that's allowed, isn't it?
Every single court in the nation, I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He didn't do a damn thing.
You can't even speak, bro.
And these people should be in jail, and they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that it could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people when they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities. You go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that, they saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing. the Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they
There it is, yep.
deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you,
The
President
left is exposed as frauds forever.
Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person at this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now. And the fact of the matter is,
That's right, and that is a testament to how far the left has fallen, how totally tyrannical they are.
what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those that are convicted, deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody, just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that
You
those
care about statues now? Oh, that's funny.
people are patriots? Come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you
That's not what he
denounce
said.
these guys
Completely wrong.
we're talking about now? You denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every...
Wow. The question about will you prosecute your political opponent is being asked not to Biden, who literally did that, but is being asked to Trump. This is how corrupt the left is. It never ends. It's a never-ending display of total insanity, total narcissism, complete mental delusion.
right to go
These people are totally divorced from reality.
after your political opponents?
Well, I
It's
said
surreal. It's like you're watching what you know is history.
my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that,
Wow, this is crazy. This is amazing.
that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor, having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged
This is so good.
and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President,
God is on his side. Americans are on his side. Morality is on his side. Sanity is on his side. The left is in shambles.
you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir.
I love it so much. Oh my gosh. Bring November faster.
You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one.
12-year-old girl was... I won't even say it again. Oh man, the left is evil.
Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before.
Oh, this is crazy. This is nuts. This is so crazy. Biden literally is seeking retribution, trying to put Trump in jail, and he's talking about how Trump's trying to seek retribution. What is happening?
No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of
He's never seen her before.
things, of having sex
The left is divorced from reality. They worship at the altar of anti-truth.
with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Give you a minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor.
Every single one of the leftist positions and statements is built on like 1,000 lies. So whenever you are playing the defense and then you're correcting them, there's still like, even if you correct them on 10 lies, there's 990 lies beneath that. That's the reason why the left is so terrified of being exposed as frauds, because it means that every single lie or every single accusation that they throw out is automatically dismissed, which is exactly what most Americans are doing.
Were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public...
And then he smirked about it, too. Not just now, but I'm talking about when he walked away. That went viral on X. Again, you weren't supposed to be able to see that, but Elon Musk allowed for free speech. This is the reason why liberals are enraged that Elon Musk is providing free speech, because then they can be judged. They can be held to the standard of objectivity rather than the standard of their counterfeit, corrupt, horrendous, reprehensible ideology.
Because they understand because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about
his brain's mush, and telling him that to his face is fantastic.
These cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that?
There we go.
You're reporting it, and we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign.
There we are. The left is truly evil, and they're being beaten. Let's go. Oh, it's so good.
Has ever taken hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam, and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
That's the reason why the left is opposed to free speech as well.
President Trump, President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans.
He's not even going to be asked about that because they know it's true.
are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the
leftist lines just sound so hollow, don't they? They mean nothing.
Tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President...
It's a shame, because there's a place for classical liberalism, but it basically has no home in the left anymore.
Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole...
Oh, I bet he does, doesn't he? I bet you know all about them.
Whole range of issues he has to face.
I wonder how much money he'll raise from those cases.
I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that... Could you ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any presidents say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas?
Whoa, this is nuts. Okay, so not only are they going off the deep end with the Hitler stuff, but this is the total psychopathology that I'm talking about is going to be judged in history, where they accuse Trump of something that they're guilty of, and then try to bait victimhood. So the victimhood's counterfeit, the fact that they think they're virtuous as a result of victimhood is counterfeit, and they're hypocrites, which is also counterfeit. So that's 3 layers of total fraudulence that the left currently inhabits right now. And most people see it, and yet they're still narcissistic enough to not own up for it. Because to own up for it would be to embrace the objective parameters of reality, which they can't do.
That's why there was no inflation at the time.
That's the only question leftists have to ask themselves.
There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, the ACA has increased. I made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for the health care. And any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for...
Right. The conservatives want to cut the police force, and the left wants to add to the police force. Right, true. Oh, it's so good. I'm glad they're admitting who they are in front of everybody. Everyone can see them as the liars now.
Equity, and making sure people have a shot.
By the way, this is interesting for you guys because if you're watching this in the future, I'm literally showing you what's happening right now. Dems are trending. People are saying essentially that the election is already over, that with Biden's gaffes alone that this is secured for Trump. This is the massive sentiment. Again, we have Dems trending in the number 3 spot in politics. We have Kamala trending. This is another negative trending hashtag for the left. None of this was meant to be possible for people to see because X was not meant to be free. Oh wow, this is very brutal. Yeah, this is totally brutal. Okay, but that's just 2. Debates 2024 is trending as well at the number 2 spot. 1 hour ago, a guy says, I've never been a fan of President Trump, but he's absolutely destroying Joe Biden in this debate. Trump is also being surprisingly generous here. This is an embarrassment to the DNC. This is The internet is ripping Biden apart. This is okay. Yeah, I knew, of course, that this was a victory for Trump in terms of the debate, but apparently people think it's even more of a victory than I thought it was here. The number one trending thing is Biden. Oh yeah, people are already correcting Biden in real time about this find people on both sides thing. Snopes has already come out and said that it's false, which is a liberal source for fact checking. People are putting together compilations and clips of Joe Biden, quote, malfunctioning. We're already at every single one of these tweets is at 4, 5 million, 6 million views in the last hour, less than an hour. This is nuts.
ID, if you lose again, you accepting anything? You can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN.
He's trying to provoke him, but it's failing.
You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest.
Just incomparable compared to what Biden's doing. You realize what he just did? He talked to Biden. He talked to the American people. He talked about our future. He used tonality. He used cadence. He used intonation. Biden was struggling to construct sentences.
Tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves.
Not to mention, we don't discriminate against them and kick them out of the military, even though they've served us bravely. The left is so evil.
And they're living, and that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we're going to go to the millions of people that are analyzing this live on X. Who cares about CNN? What random people think, lol.